What is going on, guys? We are back for another episode of Pokemon Top 5s. Now, this week we'll be covering the Ghost typing, and this is one of the most unique typings in the game with immunities to very common Pokemon, and honestly one of the least resisted typings in the game. This group of Pokemon are very unique in the sense that they're either extremely offensive or extremely defensive and have a ton of utility. And so I'm really excited about this list. This list is a little bit different, a little bit darker, a little bit spookier. And I love that. I love that they kind of have a typing that kind of lets Pokemon be a little bit more than just your traditional kids happy-go-lucky thing, right? Like, those typings usually have a lot of dark stories behind them, and there's a couple really cool ones here on the list. So without further ado, quickly before we get into the list, a quick disclaimer. Obviously, everything that we talk about on this list is 100% opinionated, meaning that if you have a different top 5 than me, make sure to leave it in the comment section down below. While you're down there, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Really help out the channel, really help me out. And yeah, thanks for watching the video, of course, right? And yeah, we don't include legendaries on this list because I do intend to do a video with legends exclusively in another video. But without further ado, let us hop in to number 5. Alright guys, so at number 5 we have Cofagrigus, the Egyptian sarcophagus. This Pokemon, to me, I've mentioned it in other videos that I am a big history buff. And for me, Egyptian history has always been something that I have been super interested in, right? And so, obviously, you know, a lot of the pharaohs get buried in sarcophaguses and tombs, and obviously there's always curses associated with trying to open the curse or disturbing the tomb. And so I've always had an interest in Cofagrigus, just from a design purpose and from a lore purpose, right? But honestly, this thing will wait and prey on grave robbers and will turn them into mummies. And this thing is wild. This thing is absolutely going to curse anybody and everybody. On top of that, it also eats the gold. So in Egyptian history, like, the Egyptian people would leave gold and silver and valuable stuff in the tombs with the pharaoh, hoping that they would have wealth in their new life. And Cofagrigus eats all the gold. So it's pretty interesting, right? Like, they're like, the Egyptian history is so entwined into Cofagrigus. It's just so enjoyable for me whenever I get to use this Pokemon. And on top of that, it has such a unique ability in comparison to any other Pokemon in the game. Mummy actually takes away the abilities of all the Pokemon that it makes physical contact with. And so you end up playing this game where you don't have abilities anymore. And so if a Pokemon is really propped up by its abilities, Cofagrigus can completely take away that advantage. And on top of that, it's a Trick Room setter with very good defenses and a 95 special attack stat. So it's actually able to be a nice defensive wall with a 145 physical defense. You know, you can Calm Mind up and boost your 95 special attack and your 105 special defense. You know, you get recovery in Pain Split. You can always rest Chesto, right? Like, there's so many good things with Cofagrigus that really does allow you to have this really uniquely offensive yet totally defensive Pokemon, and I love it. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Cofagrigus. Let us move on to number 4. Alright, so moving on to other cursed Pokemon, we have Trevenant, the Elder Tree Pokemon. Now, this Pokemon has the ability to have a neurological connection with the trees around it. And so what this Pokemon is it's sort of kind of a mixture between the Boogeyman and, in my head anyways, the Boogeyman and like kind of this forest deity, right? Kind of misunderstood, kind of like the, what's that tree's name from Zelda? But for those of you who know, you know, right? kind of like the elder tree, right? And what it does is it controls the trees, and it kind of tries to trap people who are looking to harm the forest. So it kind of ends up being this like forest protector, right? But competitively, Trevenant is, besides being super cool design-wise, Trevenant competitively is quite unique. Natural Cure means that it can actually heal off any of its status ailments, and Harvest actually allows it to eat its berries quicker and recycle them. So you can actually have reliable recovery from an item, which is actually really, really cool. And on top of that, it has like an 85 HP, 110 attack, and it's a nice little trick room attacker, right, with a low speed. And of course, most ghost types have the utility of being kind of support Pokemon as well. So, but for me, this Pokemon is definitely on the list for its design and its lore, more than anything else. But without further ado, let us move on to number 3. Alright guys, so at number 3 we have Banette, the marionette Pokemon. Now this Pokemon is basically a voodoo doll. When kids throw their toy away, the spirit comes alive through a grudge. And basically, it's just looking to, like, curse the kid that threw it away, basically. But if you are a good enough trainer, a loyal enough trainer, and a trainer that respects it well enough, it will actually lose its grudge and turn back into a toy. Which is absolutely wild. It's a Pokemon that can live and die based on how good you are to it. Which is crazy to me, It's a crazy backstory for a Pokemon, right? But this Pokemon actually has the highest physical attack of any ghost type. In its Mega form, it has a 165 attack stat and a 93 special attack stat with Prankster. So, what's this Pokemon's whole gimmick is that it has Prankster, it uses status or non-damaging moves with priority, and then it has Sucker Punch at a crazy high attack stat, or it's gonna use like Shadow Claw or something like that and just try to blow you away with a super strong attack. And so to me, this Pokemon, despite the fact that for me, it's not really a superly overly good competitive Pokemon, but it has a niche, right? And I tend to really like those Pokemon that are kind of, you know, they're not really used too much, but you surprise people with it, right? And for me, I think the backstory behind it, you know, it stabbed itself when it's casting curses. That's so crazy that it's one of the main like Pokemon that I actually see the move Curse on ghost types and be like, yeah, that makes sense on you, right? Like most ghost types, you're like, why are you hurting yourself to do this? But with Banette, it makes all the sense in the world. But yeah, let us move on to number 2. Alright guys, at number 2 we have Dusclops. This is kind of probably a bit of an unusual pick for most people actually, but Dusclops was actually one of my favorite Pokemon in Generation 3. It's one, and of course Generation 3 was my first generation. And I actually had a Duskull and evolved it into a Dusclops in my game. And this Pokemon I got a ton of respect for. Its ability, Pressure, and then having 130 in both of its physical and special defense, this thing eats hits for days. And on top of that, it also stalls out all the power points for whatever Pokemon's attacking you. So this Pokemon really is really effective. And in more recent games, I think it's got a new shine to it now that it has like Ally Switch, it can Trick Room, it can do a bunch of things now that it just really couldn't do before, and it wasn't really all that relevant. And now it's one of the premier defensive Pokemon in at least Generation 8 competitively with Gigantamaxing. And so for me, this Pokemon, you know, it kind of looks like a bit of a Cyclops, which is kind of cool. But it's actually known for being a black hole. It sucks the souls of people into its mouth, and it just, that's it. It's a black hole. That's how it devours it, and it's crazy. But for me, I don't really have much more to say about it. I kind of just like this Pokemon a lot for nostalgic purposes, right? But speaking of nostalgia, let us move on to number 1. Alright guys, so at number 1 we have the original Ghost type, the probably best Ghost type. That's not a legendary. Gengar. Gengar is the doppelganger Pokemon, getting its name Gengar from that. Now it is a Pokemon that has a lot of lore behind it. I kind of like some of the different backstories, right? You know, I like the one with the Shelder, and it's a Cleffa. It's a Cleffa Shadow. And so what the lore behind it is that like Ghastlies and Cleffas are really just like a Ghastly is a dead Cleffa that's just hanging on to its friend, which is kind of a weird little backstory there. But obviously Gengar being the OG Ghost type, you know, has a ton of respect. It's been able to stay relevant competitively the entire time, which is I think is something that's very, very rare competitively. It has the highest special attack of any Ghost type in the game. So on my top 5 list, I actually have the number 1 physical attack Pokemon and the number 1 special attack Pokemon for Ghost type, which is kind of weird. But it has a 170 special attack in its Mega form, with a 130 speed stat. So it's absolutely one of the fastest Pokemon in the game. It's a complete glass cannon, but I've always loved it. And I think part of the thing for Gengar specifically, you know, I didn't really have a lot of friends who played Pokemon with me. And so Gengar was one of those Pokemon that I always appreciated battling against it and not really getting to use it until the later generations when it was just available to catch in the wild. Or in Legends Arceus, for example, right? But Gengar's a Pokemon that, you know, whether you like it or not, you have to respect it. And I think that put it at number 1 on this list for me. But without further ado, that is the end of this week's top 5. I would like to thank everyone for watching. Click like if you liked the video, subscribe if you liked it, if you really liked it. And again, leave your top 5 list down below. It doesn't matter if it has legendaries or whatever. You know, I just want to be able to see your guys' top 5s. But with that, we're going to get up out of here. So thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.